Thank you and welcome to the show today. The topic today is Brown versus the Board of Education and historical black colleges. And we're fortunate to have with us to talk about Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, 1954, and historical black colleges, Dr. AAl-Hadid, the chairman of the Africana Studies Department at Tennessee State University. Dr. AAl-Hadid, let me welcome you to the show this morning, and to say up front that it's difficult to introduce you to our audience this morning because they've seen you on so many occasions with so many excellent shows. And what we'd like to do today is to simply continue that tradition. But before we get into Brown versus the Board of Education and historical black colleges, Dr. AAl-Hadid, let's have you to sort of give a capsule of your background in education so that we can devote quite a bit of time to a discussion of Brown versus the Board of Education and the impact that this decision had upon historical black colleges.
Yes, the first thing is I need to say that I'm chair of the Africana Studies Department at Tennessee State University. The department's been in existence since 1994. And I went to University of California, Santa Barbara, where I got my doctorate degree in basically in social psychology. My undergraduate work was done at an HBCU, Alabama State University in Montgomery, and my high school was at Carver High School there, also in Montgomery. Traveled rather extensively in Africa. Spent a year or so in Kenya, where I studied at the University of Nairobi. And then, of course, that's where I got a lot of my consciousness about our history and our culture. And I spent a summer at Yale University. So that's pretty much my background. And I've been at Tennessee State, believe it or not, for 30 years. And started out in the sociology department.
You know, Dr. AAl-Hadid, one of the things that we're trying to do over the next 5 weeks with these particular shows is to talk about the importance of Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka, Kansas, 1954. And I say that because we've already produced 4 shows dealing with this. At least Attorney Blackshear has given us an excellent, discussion on Brown and the law. And that, of course, was followed by a discussion with Dr. Baldwin and Ms. Wynn dealing with Brown and education in the South. And of course, that was followed by Brown and diversity in the South, and finally Brown and the Civil Rights Movement, and now Brown and historical black colleges, all indicated the significance of Brown versus the Board of Education. Let's see if we can have you to sort of round this off by talking about Brown and historical black colleges and related ideas.
Well, there are a couple of things I think we need to say. First of all, we need to establish the premise that during chattel slavery, which was from 1619 to 1865, education of African slaves was illegal. It was illegal to teach a slave to read and write. And so when we became emancipated in 1865, obviously the first order of business was to learn how to read and write. So education became our passport to the future. Now, of course, when we were emancipated, there was a promise of 40 acres and a mule. And of course, the administration that came into power reneged on that promise. And instead of 40 acres and a mule, we got historical black colleges. And these colleges had a great challenge. First of all, they had to teach literacy. And we also have to remember that they developed in 2 sectors of our society. Some of them developed in the private sector. Those came through the missionaries, through the Freedmen's Bureau. And then later on, as the Industrial Revolution started to get some hold in the South and other parts of the country, then we had the land grant colleges and universities. So to give our audience an example of each, Tennessee State, for example, would be a land grant school. We should call it Tennessee A&I, Agriculture and Industrial. Up the street, Fisk would be an example of one that came through the missionary establishment. And so most of our colleges were either established by missionaries through churches or philanthropy, and the others were established by the state.
And so you've established the existence of these institutions of higher education. Well, they were not, talk about the curriculum of some of these these institutions at this particular time. And I say that, Dr. AAl-Hadid, reluctantly, because I think we're just about 25 seconds from the end of this particular segment, and I really don't want you to get involved in talking about that because, as you so well know, I will interrupt you at the appropriate time. But we've got about 16 seconds now. When we come back, I want to make sure that we get into a discussion. We'll have at least 8 minutes on this particular segment to get into a deeper discussion in reference to this. Of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The topic is Brown versus